Everyone, this is Elena and I'm back today with another card video for you. This time I'm using the Hero Art July, my monthly hero kit, and I was inspired by this image on the color palette with the jellyfish in a dark background. So I'm going to be using the jellyfish from the stamp set from the kit, the largest and the little bit smaller one that are two-step, and I'm gonna to replicate that glow in the dark effect. I'll be using the neon ombre ink and the neon purple. So the kit came with another ombre ink, and as well there's like the ombre mermaid was released as an add-on to the kit, but I won't be using those two on my card today. So I'll be using my mini MISTI to line up everything, as well to stamp by then with Versamark so I'm able to emboss it. So I'm lining my cardstock into the MISTI, and then I'm just positioning the jellyfish where I want them to be. Kind of see how that card front will look. So I think that positioning is good, so I'm just using the larger one and I'm gonna pick it up with the lid of my MISTI. And then I'll ink it up with the ombre red to purple neon ink, and I'm kind of moving the ink pad up and down the image so I have softer transition between colors. And I'm stamping it once, and then I'm repeating the process so to have like more coverage, better coverage, and more kind of intense color. So I have that one, and then I'm lining up the small one. Well, not really lining up, but I'm just positioning it and picking up with the lid, and then I'm using the neon purple ink to stamp that image. So I'm gonna overstamp this one again to have again bolder look and more intense color, more intense purple. So next is the sentiment, and I use Go With The Flow because the jellyfish are kind of they go with the flow, so it the sentiment was appropriate. So I'm using the grid, the transparency grid that I usually use to line up sentiments when I'm using the MISTI. And then, as you notice, I'm leaving the stamps onto the door because I'm not inking those up, and even if they stamp again, if there's some ink left over, it doesn't really matter because they go where the stamp images are. So I'm stamping the sentiment twice again, like I did for the jellyfish. Next, I'm using my second mini MISTI because I didn't want to move those perfectly positioned jellyfish and sentiment, and I'm lining up the second step. And here, instead of darker ink, I'm using the white ink because, as you notice in the picture, like the inside, it's more like lighter color, so I wanted to achieve that look. So first I stamp with the larger one with white pigment ink, the unicorn from Hero Arts, and now I'm lining up the second image and picking up with the lid and again stamping it with the white pigment ink. So next I'll go back after I clean up my stamp, and I'll go back to my first MISTI where I have everything positioned from the first step, and I'm gonna clean up while my stamp so the ink doesn't transfer to my Versamark ink pad and then to different ruin that ink pad. So next I'll position my cardstock onto the corner of my MISTI, and then I'm using embossing tool to go over my image to make sure that I don't have some scattered speckles of embossing powder over my image after I emboss it. So I'm inking that up very nicely so we have very good coverage. And then I'm gonna go with embossing powder. It's not like iridescent sparkle, but I've mixed 4 scoops of 4 little spoons of clear and 1 little spoon of iridescent, so it's not really iridescent, but it's more like clear and a little bit sparkle to replicate that like wet look. So and then I'm removing the speckles, and the next step will be to heat it up with my heat gun to melt that embossing powder and make sure that it's like everything is melted because next we'll do kind of emboss resist technique, but I'm using the Black Suit Distress ink and a little blender tool, and I'm kind of covering that whole panel. So this will take a little while. I want to be like really dark, intense black. So I'm kind of speeding up this video so you can you're not bored watching me kind of blend the ink forever. So I'm like going all over the place. I'm kind of rubbing that ink in and making sure that everything is nice and nicely covered and very deep black. So then I'm using like a little towel. This is like the Swiffer. So I'm not leaving fingerprints onto the card, and I'm not picking up any ink with my fingers and then leaving it on something else, because I've done that in the past. So I'm pretty much done here. I'm just making sure that, again, everything is covered, as well like the little small spots inside of the jellyfish that are covered. As you notice in the first, the image, my inspiration image, like inside it was dark. So I want to make sure that it kind of replicates that same image. So I'm just adding some more ink, making sure it's very dark black, very intense black. So, and next I'm just cleaning up that ink from the embossed images so they kind of pop. So next, with the magic of YouTube, I've die cut that panel, and then I have my card base that is white. Yeah, I'm using Nina White 110 pounds cardstock. And then I'm adding some mounting tape. I'm using 3M mounting tape. And usually use 3 strips. And then on top, I'm gonna adhere my panel with the jellyfish. And then I'm using that same towel to kind of press it down so I don't pick up any ink with my fingers. And next I'll just add some sequins and some beads to add the finishing touch to my card. So I'm kind of positioning them where I want them to be, a few beads and 3 sequins. And then I'm using the Pico Embellisher to adhere everything down to my card, and I have transferred it to into one of those precision bottles, because fine line tip bottles, because I left mine open and that tip got clogged and I could not declog it. So I kind of learned my lesson to never leave it open again after I'm done with using it. So I'm kind of adhering those one by one. And we have a couple more and we'll be pretty much done with the card. So there we have the card, and you can see how that the images appear wet and sparkle a little bit. Thanks for watching, and see you soon in another video. Bye!